1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Last
4, 5,
Sunday.
6, 7.
Last Sunday. No, yesterday.
Why you beat? Tell me you beat.
She don't answer.
You beating.
She don't answer. This is cute.
She thinks she's our master.
What?
Sometimes it makes sense. Okay?
What?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
It's not me. It's not adding up. Is
No
it, Al?
problem. No problem.
You're so welcome.
No
God
one
bless
thanks
you.
Thank you. Amen. God bless you both as well.
Obviously, relationships is something we talk about a lot on the podcast because life is about relationships. Do you know what I mean? You know, they're always saying podcasters, relationship. Yes, because that's all that life is about, really. It's about your relationship with God, your relationship with your friends, your relationship with your significant other. So what do you want us to talk about?
Yeah, even your relationship with your work colleagues, career-wise.
Yeah, she pulled you guys by your singlet. So
So if you have a problem, take it up with the Most High. Anyways, so I was watching a podcast today. It was the Diary of the CEO podcast with Stephen Bartlett, and he was interviewing a guy called Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson is a psychologist, like our sister Temi over there. And
Amen.
I'm not a psychologist, by the way, guys.
well, she studied.
I have a
psychology.
degree,
Yeah.
but that's far from.
That's enough for me.
Yeah. Period. No, honestly.
And they were talking about relationships, specifically how a lot of the way relationships are being done nowadays are really detrimental. And then he went on to talk about the concept of the one. And so when Stephen asked Jordan about the concept of the one, Jordan literally looked at him and said, the concept of the one is a very foolish idea. Now, he went on to discuss why he felt that way. And do you know what? It's so funny because I'm also reading a different book, a book about love, marriage, sex and God by a pastor called John Mark Comer. And he had a similar rhetoric in the book. And I was like, this is so interesting because when I was growing up, I think I did believe in the one to a certain degree. So before I go into what he said about why he doesn't think it exists, do you guys believe in the one? Why? Why not?
Do you know what? Just like you, Ayo, when I was younger, I did as well. And I think media played a massive role in that. When you see like movies, rom-coms, like they always push this narrative, oh, the one, when you meet your one, like that whole narrative, I think that's what played into it and why I believed in it. But why I don't believe now in the one is, this might sound silly, but I believe you make your one, if that makes sense. I feel like God will place someone in your life, or you'll cross paths, or you'll meet someone and you'll find that you share similarities or you share mutual things that bond you guys closer together, with the foundation, of course, being that you both share the love of the Most High. And naturally you realize, and I believe this is where God, as from a Christian perspective, this is where God comes into play, where you have that communication with God as well as like a God-filled community where they can confirm for you that person, they see his character, all of these things. So I think the reason why I also don't believe in the one is because it puts a lot of pressure, especially with women. I feel like, I don't know about men because I'm not a man, so I can only answer from the standpoint of a woman. With women, when this narrative of the one is pushed, it can by default lead us to stay in situations that we shouldn't be in, just because of that idealistic of, oh, the one. And I think it's very dangerous because someone can tick some of your boxes, but because of the one, and because you want it so badly, you'll find yourself being with that person, missing out on what God actually intends for you. So I think it can be a little bit not a little bit, a lot of it problematic.
Wow, Ashley, that was really good. That was a good insight.
I'm doing my best.
Whilst you were just talking, I was just trying to think of my answer as well, and I think you hit the nail. And you thought exactly what I thought in the same time when you said you create the one. I don't believe in the idea of the one. Maybe I did as well growing up. But I think it depends on the context we're speaking of the one.
Okay.
If you're speaking of, you can eventually have the idea of the one when you've built with them, it then creates this person that is very compatible with you and you both do life together and that's your person. But in terms of meeting from the onset without any work being done and you just met, you find someone where you have the tools to work together. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, the foundation, like the basics.
Right.
But again, I feel like you can find that in more than one person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to
I
say?
like what you
That
just said
tool can be found in more than one person. God puts you in a path where you can find that person, and then you then start to work and build things together. And then the more you build each other up to love each other the way you should love each other, the way you're compatible with each other, the way you build a home together, the way you build a family and just develop and grow individually and together. That's when you look at this person after the hard day's work and you're just like, you know what, you're my person. Do you get what I mean? That's where the concept of the one comes from, rather than on the onset not wanting to do any work. And I think that's where our generation lack a lot, where it's like you want to find the one, but when it comes to the hard work and the drilling and just the labor that goes into it, you're not prepared, or you just don't know what you're getting yourself into. And then the first minute of struggle, the first minute of challenges, you have to run
away.
If that makes sense.
Literally, guys have basically said everything, kind of, because the reason why he said he doesn't believe in the one is because in a way he feels like it's quite self-centered, because it actually more serves you than it looks at how you serve the other person.
And which is a lot of things in life. It's all about self-serving. How does this person work for me? If this isn't serving me anymore, I'm out. Like this person, if you talk about a person and you ask them, oh, what is it about your partner that you love? You'll never hear what I do for them. It's what they do for me.
100%.
Me.
100%. And I think that's what a lot of people's ideals are rooted in when it comes to the one, because it's like, oh, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that, they're that. They match up to this estimation that I have.
They make me feel better, and they help me in tough times.
And then the book that I'm reading basically said the reason why this pastor said he doesn't think the one exists as well is because humanity is broken in general. Everyone's marriage in general is two broken people coming together. So even if you bump into someone that you think is like perfect, there's going to be a struggle, like Tem said. There's going to be a point where you get to in that relationship where you're like, oh my gosh, like, do I even want to be here anymore? And if the concept of the one exists, then you can't actually leave that person. For instance, you can't, like in the dating process, obviously not marriage, but in the dating process, it means you don't have any freedom of mobility. There's no option. There's no free will, which is counterintuitive to the way God made us.
Right.
And then on top of that, he talked about where the one came from. So people think it might be a biblical concept. Like some churches preach it in a way. They won't call it the one, but they might say like the person, like whatever,
ordained for you
or something. But apparently it doesn't come from the Bible. It comes from Greek, like philosophy and Greek mythology, because there was a god, I can't remember the name that he called it in Greek mythology, that was a man and a woman fused together and had both female and male genitalia, and then something happened in this Greek like history, and that being was split in two, and then the essence of their life was then to find that person that had then at one point been split in two. That's where the concept of the one came from. But in the world that we live in, especially as human beings, like I don't think anybody, like we were all created as a whole person in terms of when we were born, we were formed together as an individual human that is complete with God. Like so essentially our journey on this planet is to serve and find or walk our purpose out with God. So like what both the girls have said, like your one is the person that you kind of decide to do the journey with, and the way he then articulated it over like afterwards was basically the question shouldn't be who, like what should you look for in the one? It should be like, what am I willing to give? Almost like, what am I, like how in what ways am I willing to like better myself to attract the person that I would consider to be worthy of being in a relationship with? And I said, that is such an interesting way to look at it, because I then thought about my life and I was like, I actually feel like if a lot of people had focused more on what they would bring to a relationship earlier on in their life, they would probably be in a more optimal position to get into a relationship at a timely manner of their wanting, and then get married at a time that they wanted to. But I do think a lot of the time people are constantly looking outward to what other people
they can get from
other people versus,
and that's where the whole thing of, oh, you write your list of what you want in a person. I don't necessarily think that's bad, because of course you should note down what characteristics you want the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, but also, like you said, make sure you're looking inwardly, because when you get that person now, what are you adding to their lives? Are you going to run them down into ruins and chaos? So it shouldn't just be self-sufficient. It should also be, how am I going to serve this person? Like what am I adding to their lives? Like what's lacking in me? What do I need to do more of? What work do I need to do on myself? So I think that again, the one one, it also takes away responsibility and accountability over the individual. Because when you're focused on the one and you're seeing, oh, you know, this is the person that I'm looking out for, this is what I need to be on the lookout for. When you're looking, like you said, outwardly, you miss all the things that you need to do for yourself and all the things God can be working on in you. But because you're so fixated on the one, or okay, well, I connected with this person, oh, could they be the one for me? Like, you know, we had good chat, we had good banter, like, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? But then it's like you're missing, you also take yourself away from the present. Like, maybe it's just God could have used you to that conversation for you to be a light to them, for you to be encouragement. It's not every person that you speak to. It's now for you to think, oh, is this person the one? Is it the one? Is it the one? So I think it can just be
That's so interesting.
That mindset is so dangerous, because I can speak for myself. I'm sure there's many people I've encountered that didn't need to be a romantic interest.
I'm there too. I'm saying it to myself.
They were supposed to be my friend. Hello. Hi.
I'm saying it to myself.
Why was I chatting to them?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy, because I think that's why even in the, I don't know if I would agree with this statement that I'm about to say, but even in the podcast, he said he thinks compatibility, the term, or like the focus on compatibility, is wrong. And that compatibility, he said compatibility doesn't exist. I don't know how I feel. I don't know if I agree with that statement, but I agree with the notion that essentially, if you meet someone and you actually do the groundwork, the hard work, the work that requires you to be vulnerable and do the things that are actually going to push you out of your self-serving zone to try and make a life with a person, then I think you actually could marry more people than you'd think.
Like your option pool is a bit wider
than you would assume, because compatibility, I think, exists in the context of like, yeah, there's people that you probably share interests with 100%, or there's people that, you know, you have similar goals or similar morals and ethics and stuff. But I think nobody knows a person's inner person until you get into a relationship with them.
This is why a lot of people, this is why I think what Ashley was saying, like the one is so quite fixated on outward appearance or just like surface level things, because how can you really know when a person's the one for you when you haven't spent substantial amount of time with them to get to understand them and know them? And based off what you were both saying, something came into my head. You know that funny saying, even though, you know, people take it as banter, but if you really look within what it's trying to say, when people say, you have a type, but are you your type's type? You know, we've heard that, and you're thinking, it's so funny, but it's true. No, think about it. Like, are you your type's type in a sense where have you done the work? So then when you do meet the one, or the type of people you think the potential of the one is, have they want you? Do they want you? Have you done the work that you need to do to be attractive to them as well?
Because more often than not, it's a no. It's a hell to the
because
no.
we've done so much, like you said, we've done so much work on trying to, in our head, think of the ideal person, the traits that they bring, what they have to have, what they have to be able to do. They have to be this, they have to be that. What about me? To then find that person that I've now put on paper, what am I to them?
What stands out?
On
what
paper,
stands out
are
to
you
them?
for them?
Am I that person as well on my end? Have I done the work to attract that kind of person?
No, literally.
You know?
That is, you know, the compatibility, did he say why he doesn't believe?
I think he genuinely believes that humans focus on the wrong things.
Okay.
Like, we focus on things that are very surface, when compatibility, like, you liking the same TV show does not mean you're going to do well with a person.
Or your relationship.
Or like your relationship.
That's so true, because I was looking at the definition of what it means to be compatible, and by definition it says to exist or occur with someone or something without problems or conflict. So by definition, he's not wrong, because
you can't.
You cannot exist with someone without conflict or problem.
It happens. It's a natural part of
married people
life.
speak about it all the time.
And oh my days, there's something else. Sorry, you guys are reminding me of things what he said as well, because he also mentioned that, like, most people would end up divorcing each other because there was maybe 1,000 fights that they were meant to have that they didn't have. And I said, you know what? He's preaching. Because, and then he kind of gave the statistic, I think it was 1,000, I don't remember the number he said, but he gave the statistics about, you know, when you feel that niggling thing within you, that you should be honest about something to your partner, but in that moment you're like, oh, if I say it might make things awkward, it might make things,
and you just hold it in.
Then there's another one, you hold it, and he's doing it on his end. Over time you're building up resentment, that when you get to a crossroads, you're like, oh well, maybe we're just not compatible anymore, but it's actually, there was not a level of vulnerability anymore. The levels of vulnerability stopped being a thing, because
and you didn't even realize that point that it stopped.
It's over time, because a relationship only thrives because both parties are willing to be naked, like both obviously when you're in marriage physically, like to your entire core, but in like your emotion, in your mind, like actually exposing the lies that you even believe, being able to say where you're distrusting, where you feel betrayed, where but when you're no longer doing that with your partner, you will end up in a place where unfortunately you have nothing to be around each other for anymore, because you hate each other now,
and you put it down to, oh, we're not compatible anymore.
And in terms of how they serve differently in your life, it will just look the same as everybody else.
Like
the role that they play in your life
on the same
when your partner, your husband or your wife is supposed to stand up completely way above that, beyond even your children, your best friend, anybody. They're meant to be that safe space for you where you can be your most vulnerable self.
True.
Funny enough, what you just said, I remember a few months ago I read a thread of this man that he summarized his marriage and just said things were just going left in his marriage, and he just found himself in a space where he couldn't speak to his wife because he just didn't know why. He just felt like he couldn't open up to her. And he was at the point of literally physically saying the word divorce. Like they got to that point in their marriage. Like she would actually try and ask him what's the matter, and he just couldn't understand what the problem was. And he decided to seek therapy. I think, I'm not sure if they'd done like marriage counselling or if he went to therapy on his own or just whatever happened, but he started to realise that the reason why was because he resented his wife, because he felt like he couldn't speak up about certain things, because he didn't like the way she would react to the things that he did say when he used to speak about those things. Like he didn't like it. So he just thought moving forward he's just not going to say anything, and he's just going to keep to himself. And that built so much resentment that eventually when he started to act different, he didn't realise what it was. And therapy brought that out of him more, and his wife got involved, and they spoke about it, and she obviously apologized on her end, like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, not to make excuses, but when a person is the way they are, sometimes it has to take someone to bring them out to understand, like, look, this is not the best way to deal with a situation. She's been like that her whole life. So naturally, it's not going to happen overnight where she will change. But if she wants her marriage to work, which she did, she's going to be more aware of it. But guess what? It's because you've now brought it to her attention. There was no way she was going to be aware of it if you keep these things in your mind.
People are not mind readers.
People are not mind readers. So that has happened now. And again, there's that aspect of giving grace to each other, because she obviously had to give grace in a sense where all these things were happening, I weren't aware, and he had to give grace in a sense where I'm trying to be better, it's not happened overnight, but I'm still trying to get there. So they got to a point in the marriage where that was discovered, it was revealed, and then their marriage got better because over time they both were conscious of that, and she tried to get him to speak when there was issues, and she tried to react better to the situation. And according to him, the end of the thread was him basically saying, his marriage is thriving. And it just, the one thing that it made me realize is, in a marriage, especially if it's like a God-ordained marriage, I don't know about anything else, if it's a God-ordained marriage, a lot of the time when there is an issue, of course we're not talking about outliers or issues that are sort of extreme. Again, I'm not married, I can't speak for that, but when it's issues like that, you can definitely fix it. You can definitely work on it. It might take long. It might take a month. It might take 2 months. It might take a year, 2 years, however long. I think as long as, it sounds so simplified when I say, as long as you both want that marriage to work, as long as God is in the center and continues to be in the center throughout, as long as you both really want that marriage, and you know what got you together in the first place, you can definitely put in the work to revive 100%. It and do what you need to do, because you just never know what, you just never know how far. Just the you never know how far that journey is. You never know how far you're supposed to go until you actually start to see it for what it really is.
You say, you saying that story, it's just made me think about how many marriages have ended in divorce, be it because of
things like that,
or because they've just thought, oh, we're not compatible anymore, when really and truly it's actually something deeper. And it's how we were speaking about earlier in the car, that sometimes it's, you have to let God into certain areas to actually show it and bring it to you. Because if you're just hiding it, say now he's hidden it from his wife, and then subsequently he's also hidden it from God as well. Like, say if that's happened, because I'm sure we all have experiences like that where we haven't opened up to people, and we also then haven't opened up to God. That now leaves room for the enemy to run chaos and to run havoc.
Wow.
And you miss out on the Lord actually comforting that area and showing you, okay, this area you're actually bruised, you're actually hurt, you're actually broken, you hold resentment, you hold bitterness, whatever it may be, and then allow God to heal that area and then show you, okay, what do you need to do now afterwards? It's like a domino effect. Once you let God work on that area, okay, now it's time for you to, whether it be have wise counsel around you, therapy, start opening up to your wife. But it's when you hide and you build a wall between you and God, you don't give God the opportunity to actually shed light.
Do you know what's so fun? You've just unlocked something in my memory. I was watching, I think December, I was watching this, I don't know if you guys know who Pastor Mildred is. She's like a relationship pastor with her husband, and she was saying something, even though she was speaking to women in relationships, and I watch a lot of her sermons, they're quite interesting. And she said, as a woman, if you have an issue with your husband, if you know there's a habit your husband has that you don't like, the first thing, naturally as human beings, the first thing you'd want to do is correct it. And let's say you've done that and it hasn't worked, but there's just something in your marriage that you just feel like this needs to stop, but he's not listening, or vice versa, whether it's the man that she's not listening. It's so important to take that thing to God. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's so important to take that thing to God first. It's basically what you said. If you've hidden it away from God, the person that's supposed to know all things, how are you supposed to solve the issue?
Because you can see it as something so trivial, like, oh, you know, this is just irritating me, but it will pass. Like, it will go
that's
away.
how it is most of the time.
Or you keep getting to a crossroads where you keep being overwhelmed about something, and it could have been the smallest thing, or it could just be a misunderstanding. It could be anything, but the more you just layer it, like you keep adding layers on top of it, so it's harder to get to. It's like you do yourself a disservice, because I was having that same experience that what Ashley's talking about, and I feel like God, like, someone was expressing to me, they were explaining to me how when those moments happen to you, it's not always that God is saying you've been disobedient, you've been, like, sometimes that feeling, that tugging on your heart is like God saying, I can see, like you said, there's a pain here and I want to heal it for you, can you bring it to me? But a lot of the time that doesn't, I don't know.
That's not how it translates.
Concept of God. Like, I'm sure it's
that
because of
the
concept of God that I have, maybe, that sometimes that's not where I go to in my thoughts straight away. I automatically think there must be something wrong. I don't know. That's just how I articulate, like, to myself, and that kind of makes this situation worse, because you're just constantly feeling like you're on the defense, and you have to defend yourself against this feeling, when it's more God trying to bring something out of you and heal you, so you don't have that sore spot anymore. And on what both of you have said, like, none of us know the future in our relationship, so even the concept of the one, I think sometimes it holds people back, because what it makes you think is that this life now with this person is going to be perfect because they're the one, and it's like, that's just impossible, because as we all know, we are fallen people, we live in a fallen world. Two broken people coming together, there is bound to be friction, there is bound to be disagreements, but what differentiates a Christian relationship, or a relationship built on truth and the Lord, is one where both people are being honest before the Lord first, so that when they are with their partner, or they're having they're able to having conversations with their partner, they have a teachable spirit, they have a humble spirit, they have a meek spirit, they have a peaceful spirit. That thing Tem said about wanting the same goal is so key, because it's so interesting. The reason most relationships stop working is because both parties are no longer aligned. Like, if you're being honest, if it's in friendship, if it's in a romantic relationship,
no longer on
anything,
the same page,
which you no longer want the same goal. And if you no longer want the same goal, you can't get to the same destination, because you don't want to go to the same place. So like that's
so simple.
It's literally as simple as that. Like, he also mentioned that he was like, if you want your relationship to work, you first have to decide. You have to decipher whether the person you're trying to do this with wants to go to the same place as you,
and they mean it. It just doesn't sound nice, because it sounds nice.
You have to be honest.
We've been together 50 years. That's what we admire. We want to do that. We want to build generational wealth. We want to build a family. It sounds lovely, but do you know what that actually is? And is that exactly what you want? Because that's what I want. If that's what you want, and we have God, let's go.
I love how the way you guys broke it down, that is it. Because, and honestly, as believers as well, I'm talking to the believers,
usually, for the most part,
to the ones who believe in the Messiah. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad to have earthly goals. It's not bad to with the person that you're building a life with. You want to build a home. God has blessed us with a life to live in abundance. So he wants those things for us. But the end goal should be to emulate our marriage, and our relationship should emulate Christ more and more every day. So we're prepared when he's coming back for us. That is our end goal. So whatever it is you may be following on social media, and they're telling you, oh, you know, the end goal is to have Bitcoin or to have all of this in your savings account, all of these things. Amazing for them, but that's not what we're following. We're following the truth. We're following the word of God, and that is we are to prepare ourselves to make ready ourselves for the Lord when He's returning.
What you said is so powerful, because it just made me like think that if you're actually looking for the one is Jesus. Everybody else is really just, we're all on the same journey of figuring out how we're going to get
figment
closer
of your
to
imagination.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, no, because literally he is the bride.
There's only one.
We're the bride. He's the groom. He's the bridegroom.
That is the essence of life. All we're doing in this journey of life, you essentially, you want someone that is going to push you to that goal, because to lose out on that end goal because of somebody you thought was the one on earth. Hello,
Lord.
hi. Hello. And hi.
That sounds like it hurts. Wow.
That just knocked the wind out of me.
No, because
that's not going to be our portion, so I don't know what that feels like.
But
I don't want to attain all of these things
gain
and
the
look
world
and lose and forfeit my soul.
Because
to look like relationship goals on social media, but the Lord isn't pleased with my relationship.
Oh, okay.
God forbid.
No, God forbid.
No.
God forbid.
That's not our focus. Hey, sorry.
And the last thing that I wanted to say about the one is that I also think it comes from a place of control, because you just want to have some sort of grasp over the outcome. Because it comes down to even praying about your relationship with God. It's like, okay, God, give me a sign, give me a sign, give me a sign. And I think the Bible talks about something like related to obedience is better than sacrifice. So in essence, what God is actually asking you to do is just walk in step with Him. This sign that sometimes we're looking for, I know this has been me before. I want to see fluorescent light that this is the person.
Yes.
You want to walk in this path. And
give me a dream that I'm walking down the aisle to Him.
Something. And sometimes, and more often than not, what God will actually do is show you whether you're trusting Him or not, because that will then determine whether you're being obedient or not. A lot of stuff will then start to add up. But if your ultimate thing is, oh God, just show me the person, so that now if He tells you the one, now you can stop relying on Him, you could just focus on this relationship.
Wow.
That is how a lot of the time these things happen in our brain.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? We want the shortcut. It's like, oh, okay, God, tell me if I should apply for this job, because okay, if I apply for it and I get it, okay, then now I don't need to rely on you for providence.
That's it.
I got the job.
Wow. And sometimes the sign is the peace of God. That's it.
Sometimes it's the peace of God. Sometimes it's actually that it's bringing out something in you that you didn't even realize like you needed. Like, there's so many ways God manifests Himself
without Him having to show you that sign that's blaring.
Do you know what I mean?
Sometimes the sign is just you waking up and letting Him take it from there. You actually just surrendering and saying, Lord, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, because that's been me since the start of this year. I've been like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where I'm going, but all I know is I'm following you. That's it.
That's literally the journey.
That's enough. That's the thing with social media. It makes you feel like you need to do more. Like you need to be out here doing this. Go to this conference. Go to the relationship talk that's happening 10 minutes away from your house. Do this. Do that. Sometimes it's just be still.
Tarry.
And know that He's Lord. That's it.
Tarry.
Because that will do the transformation on the inside.
Yes.
That is required for you to meet the person, if that's what God wants for you. So that's it.
You said it.
And you know what's so funny about that, just to wrap up, like when you do get to that goal, when you have gotten that thing, when if it is for you and God brings it into your life, you look back and you think, wow, this is what God was doing all along. And I didn't realize, I didn't see it in
all
that
the
moment.
shortcuts I tried to take.
Because my focus was so much on that goal, but it wasn't even about the goal. It was about what you learn along the journey.
They're always preaching.
No, tell the truth. Yeah.
Thank God.
Wow.
But that's that, guys.
That was a lovely therapy session.
I enjoyed
Thank you.
that.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We'd love to know what you guys think. I actually really want to know what you guys think about the one, because I feel like everybody kind of believes in the one in one way.
I think it's a key. Do you know what it is? The concept is a key. Like I can understand because it keeps the people going.
Right.
And it's romantic.
It's not necessarily
it's romantic.
wrong,
it's fairy tale.
It
just allows people to believe in love, and which is so lovely to have. But there was something that he also said, which was, if you're marrying for love, then you're a fool.
Oh.
Let's end it.
Okay.
If that's the only thing.
If that's the only thing, sorry, that you're married for.
Please
Don't tell me just calling everyone a fool.
Don't marry your enemy, okay?
Please marry for love, but make sure it's not the only thing you're marrying for.
She said
Have your mind, your wits about you.
I'm so done.
We'll see you on our next episode.
Time, guys.
Bye.